Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another segment of Asaph Cafe. I am your host, Asaph Adonai, and we have the lovely Teresa Toigo with us. And oh, you look so stunning with that blue hair.
Fascinating.
Well, you look marvelous.
You look
yourself.
marvelous, like Billy
Yeah.
Crystal used to say.
Yeah.
And affectionately, we have our aging rocker, Emmet. And I just love your hair.
Thank you.
It's fascinating.
I like it.
Well, I would like to say that I was told last night that a woman my age should not have hair this color. It's not becoming. And I am here to say to all the people out there, come to Missoula where you can be free and be 59 and 2 months old and have any color hair you want.
Absolutely.
I am proud to be a senior citizen with blue hair.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And tonight I'm going to karaoke and I'm singing Hair by the Cowsills. And when it gets to the part about spaghetti, I'm going to say blue spaghetti.
Yep.
So there,
That's
I
cool.
got it out.
I got a comment on it. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to stop on that note. Anyway, there's a lady I used to work for years ago in California, and she was like in her late 50s, early 60s at that time. And when she was a young woman, she used to have really long hair, you know, like most young women have. So we got on the subject about how you're supposedly supposed to look when you get a certain age.
Yeah.
And she believed that a woman shouldn't have long hair when you get like 50 and stuff.
Aw.
And I said to her in a kind way, I said, you know, who makes these rules?
Yeah.
They say that if you're a certain age, you have to act a certain way
Yeah, it's
and
ridiculous.
dress a certain way and be a certain way. And I rebelled against that. growing up.
Absolutely.
Oh, because my birth mom, I love her, but she used to be like, you got to be like everybody else. She was always trying to pounce that on me, and I would rebel against it. And so one day I said, if everybody jumped off a bridge, would you jump off? Then she looked at me and kind of hit me and, shut up, get out of my face, you smarty. But the point I'm making is, I don't know who makes these rules
Yeah.
that say that you have to be a certain thing at a certain age.
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes from. And here's another story. This church I used to go to years ago, there was this young woman there. She had something like 3 kids,
Hmm?
and she was real thin and petite. And she was like something like 5'7", 5'8", you know, like really model type.
Mhm.
And she used to wear these jeans. They weren't like skin tight, but they looked really nice on her.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of the other ladies in the church would be like, you know how older ladies get to talking.
Yeah.
Wow, she shouldn't be dressed like that in church. And so that lady came up to me one day and she said, hey, Sal, let me tell you something about those old ladies. And she told me her age because she was kind of older herself. She said, just because I'm getting older don't mean I gotta look like I'm older or dress
That's
like I'm
right. Yeah.
older. And she said, I got this figure and I'm gonna enjoy it even in church. And
Yep.
if they don't like it, then that is their problem.
Good for her.
Yeah, she told me that. And I said to myself, right on.
Mhm.
You know?
Well, I
And I'm not trying to pick on the church and old ladies,
No.
but you know, there's this stigma in our culture. You got to look a certain way, or something's wrong with you.
I know.
Well,
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
rebelled, and I'm not picking on any church either.
No,
but
I'm not picking on the church.
No,
I'm talking
I'm
about the
not. I'm
rules in
from-
the society.
I'm
that-
from Salt Lake City, and it's very conservative unless you live near the University of Utah.
Yeah, I know.
And so I kind of rebelled.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I rebel. When I say rebelled, I don't mean in a disrespectful way growing up, but I rebelled against society. I
Yep.
rebelled against what my birth mom used to say I was supposed to be. When at a certain point in my life, certain age, they say you're supposed to be married by the time you're like 20, 21, whatever. You know, just those stupid rules.
Yeah.
I don't know where they come from. You can't take the good book and say, well, the good book says you're supposed to do this at such and such an age. You're not supposed to have blue hair. You're not supposed to have pink hair.
Yeah.
I'm like, you want pink hair? Go for it.
Yeah, I used to, when I had my mohawk
You
and
know,
spiked up dyed, it was
goodness.
always spiked up dyed
That's
pink and blue
right.
and red and
Yeah,
orange.
the point I'm making is I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
I never have a problem with that. I always like the underdog. I always like different things. And my mom I think I gave her a fit when she was raising me. Because she wanted me to be like June Cleaver, and you know, if you really watch Leave It to Beaver, they always did everything the way society said they were supposed to.
I know,
If you
yeah.
really pay
That was
attention to
the
that show,
50s, yeah.
and that was in the 50s, yeah. So, and I'm not picking on the Beav, but
Oh, and you asked me why I did my hair
oh
this
yeah,
color?
yeah.
I remember okay, I wanted a different color other than pink, but also it was Bob Dylan's 75th birthday on Tuesday, and I'm celebrating. I'm totally celebrating.
I'll put Happy Birthday to Bob Dylan.
Happy birthday, Bob. I love you.
Yeah.
A lot of people like Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
I admit I like Bob Dylan too. I don't necessarily listen to his music all the time, but I do like him. He had a distinctive sound to his singing.
You know, I'm not familiar with Bob Dylan.
Well, this is way before your time, obviously, too, but he was one of those people, I think he was at the right place at the right time in his life as a young man, and he had a lot of those folk songs, they call it, I think, that you know, had a statement or a message.
Anti-war and
and stuff like that at the time.
civil rights.
Yeah.
He was for civil rights.
And there were a lot of folk groups in that era, like Peter, Paul, and Mary. You probably won't know them.
I've heard of the name, but I'm not familiar with their
well,
music.
this is way before your
Puff the
time.
Magic Dragon.
Oh, I never liked that. That was a depressing song. That was a very
Well,
sad song.
Yeah, but at the time when they did those songs, it had to do with the culture and the times. It wasn't. It's hard to explain because you had to have been there.
Mm-hmm.
So they had, was it Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Bob
Mamas
Dylan.
and the Papas.
Yeah.
Joan Baez.
Yeah.
I could go on and on.
Yeah. Let's play this song.
That's why one reason I love Gordon Lightfoot so much. He plays this beautiful guitar, and look, I can play Gordon Lightfoot all day, you know, and even one of my good friends really likes Gordon Lightfoot, even sometimes I think more than I do, but, and yeah, he plays this beautiful guitar, you know, and sings about some hard issues like homelessness and hopping trains and being drunk and, you know, having the hard life of a derelict and relationships and some other thing. But this beautiful music, it's like, or, you know, haunting songs like Restless, where you get restless to hop a train. Like, in the most beautiful way, it's a fascinating combination, combining easy listening soft guitar with hard issues like homelessness, dereliction, drunkenness.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, getting back to those songs of the 60s, they all talked about those things. But I think that as history goes on, obviously the younger generation aren't going to know who Bob Dylan is to the degree that you and I might.
Yeah.
But I think Bob Dylan is probably the quintessential folk singer in history.
Yes.
I would say that as the generations go by and we're probably long gone, he'll stand out. I think he will probably be the most remembered of all those, that whole civil rights, the whole...
He will, but
I think he'll be the most
Woody
remembered.
Guthrie.
I know,
Yeah,
I realize
there
that, but I
was
think Bob Dylan will stick out. I mean, he just got the most documentaries. There were a lot of documentaries about him, even as a young man. In fact, I saw one just last year. They had like this 2-hour documentary on Bob Dylan.
That'd be interesting.
My grandson got to meet him.
Really?
Yes.
So, you know, that's my point. I think he'll be remembered more than all those groups of that era. But they all had something to say. James Taylor, you know, all those people. They're fine singers, fine musicians. But, yeah, I think Bob Dylan will stick out in history.
Fascinating.
So,
I do.
one of my grandsons, or I can't remember, said, Grandma, your music has stories.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said, yes, it does.
Yeah, I know stories, yeah. That, and that's the way it was in that time. And we'll just see what history says. But so it was Bob Dylan's 75th birthday, you said?
Yes. And
Well-
Pete Townsend's 71st birthday.
Well, let's
2
play
weeks
happy
ago.
birthday to him too. Pete Townsend.
Pete Townsend, don't know him.
The Who.
Never listened to The Who.
That's way before his time, you know.
Yeah, I never listened to The Who.
So we played Happy Birthday for the Who.
I hope I die before I get old, talking about my generation.
There you go. And we played Happy Birthday to Bob Dylan. What a great way to start the cafe by playing Happy Birthday with for two legends. I don't know that Bob Dylan will ever see this, but if he does, Asaph and the gang here, Emmet, Teresa, we
Somebody will tell him.
played Happy Birthday for Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of cool. I wish Bob Dylan could be here. Can you imagine what that would be like?
Yeah.
MCAT Studio.
I would feel like the ultimate
Yep.
host if I could interview Bob Dylan on my show.
Wow.
Yikes. I think the ratings are going, right? I think NBC would be knocking on our door like,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Have him on your Ed Sullivan remake. That would be great.
Well, speaking of that, I'm still working on the funding. The only thing that's stopping me from doing that show every week is I don't have the funds yet. I mean, technically I could start it, but then I don't want to run out of funds and have to put the project on hold. That's very unprofessional.
Mhm.
I'm just going to wait till I have everything before I even tackle something
Yeah.
like that. So,
I'd love to have Gordon Lightfoot on their show on the cafe. That'd be great, you know.
yeah, Bob Dylan, Gordon Lightfoot. That would make me look real good. as a
Yeah.
host.
Richards.
Guess who I've been called, compared to so far, and this is very humbling.
wait.
Very
Let
humbling.
me guess.
Okay.
Oh, there's a few.
No,
Let's
this
see.
is the latest one that I would have never thought.
Is it somebody from this generation? Or,
Well, not necessarily, but it's not a musician.
oh, okay.
Ken Burns. Do you know who Ken Burns is?
No.
No.
The guy that does all those PBS documentaries, like on Billie Holiday.
Oh.
And, because I've been doing those musical notes with Asaph stories for about 2 years now. And somebody called me the Ken Burns of Missoula.
Because if
I thought that was so because of doing the documentary stories.
Oh.
I don't know. Have you seen that Wake Up Missoula program? You've seen it,
Yes.
have you? Yeah, I've been doing those stories for about 2 years.
Yeah, no.
And
I
that's an ultimate compliment to be called the Ken Burns of Missoula.
Amazing.
Well,
yeah.
I was gonna say like Little Richard, James Brown.
No, I get that a lot. I've been
let's
called
see,
Slick
Prince,
Rick. No, here's what I've been called. I've been called Slick Rick. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I've been called Rick James.
Oh, Rick James, yeah.
I don't look anything like Rick James. I don't even have dreadlocks. I've been called Elvis. I've been called Prince. I've been called Michael Jackson, and I've been called James Brown.
Wow.
Well, if you could,
And now I'm being
dance
called.
like, if you could dance like
can't-
Prince or Michael
I can't do
Jackson.
that. No, I can't do that. And now I'm being called Ken Burns.
Well, that's
I find
An
that very
honor,
flattering.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen Ken Burns documentaries.
no.
He does all
They're
those
all
PBS
trusted.
documentaries. Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Harry James, and just all those people from the past. And I've been doing those news stories for 2 years, and so now I'm being called Ken Burns
Amazing.
in a small way. Yeah. So, and then I think of Morty. What's his name? Morty Safer, the guy we
Yeah.
lost last week. He did like 919 stories for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And when I think of my stories, they're like small potatoes compared
Yeah.
to his. I got a long way to go to be a Morty Safer.
Well, maybe,
Yeah, we lost
maybe,
him about a week
oh,
ago
I'm
or
sorry.
so. A week or two ago.
I didn't know that.
I thought you knew that. Yeah, they
No,
had it plastered all over computer, TV.
You know, I don't watch the news
Well,
because
he
it
was 84.
depresses me.
Yeah, but I know I've heard that said a lot of people get depressed, but it's
Well,
reality.
I
You
get
need to know what's going
overwhelmed.
on.
I get overwhelmed because there's nothing I can do.
I know, but it's good to know what's going on.
Yeah.
You might have an axe murder in your neighborhood. Had that happen once, in a sense, in Sacramento years ago. There was a rapist on the loose,
Wow.
2 blocks from where my parents used to live, and struck in our neighborhood, and that was scary.
Yeah.
They caught him. They caught him real fast.
Well,
They caught him like within about a week. So everybody could relax. But my point is, I know the news can be depressing, but I think it's important to find
Yeah.
out what's going on in the world, in your community, and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be a war declared, and they might, call up the draft, and then if you don't watch the news and you get a draft notice, it's like, I didn't even know there was a war,
Yeah, and just like you didn't know Morley Safer was gone, so they've been rerunning his really early stories like 40 years ago. It's so cool seeing it when he was really young. This is Morley Safer. Because he's like there covering Vietnam. He's like right out in the heart of that. Took guts. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I don't think if I were a reporter, I don't think I'd be going out in harm's way like that. But anyway, he was 84, so. And at least he got to retire before he passed away.
Oh, that's nice.
And he passed away about a week after he retired.
Oh, wow.
Well,
You
I
didn't
guess
get
that's
to
a good
enjoy
way to,
his-
yeah, that's a good way to go. Because he said he had a charmed life, blessed life, to have got to report those stories. And I kind of feel that way in a small way when I do Wake Up Missoula. And I get to do those stories, and Scott and Noel put the pictures up. We used to do the videos, but we can't do those videos anymore. So I have to narrate with still pictures. And it's just fun. I enjoy doing that Wake Up Missoula. It's not my show. All I do is just play in the background when they're doing the city council and all that other news. And then when they get to my segment, I get to do those entertainment stories.
Yeah.
And I told Emmett on the last show, one of my latest stories was on Barbara Billingsley. Do you remember her?
Yeah.
Leave It to Beaver. Remember that scene in Airplane when those two African American fellows one of them got sick,
Yeah.
eating the bad fish, and he was speaking jive.
Yeah.
And the stewardess couldn't understand what he was trying to say. And Barbara Billingsley gets up and says, "Stewardess, excuse me, I speak jive.
Yeah.
Can you do those lines she was doing?"
Oh, that
She
was
like,
now. Just hang loose, blood. Well, we got the reception with the meta side on the rebound. You know.
yeah, it was so
And,
funny
yeah.
watching this lady because she played such a perfect mom on Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
So
And then,
to
of course,
see,
yeah.
to see this lady speaking jive, and the other guy says something about
No.
my mama didn't raise no dummies kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
It was just funny that whole
Cut me some
dialogue.
slack, Jack, is what she also said. And said,
Give me
yeah.
some slack, Jack.
Is that where the Bee Gees got that song Jive Talk? Is that
No,
what that's
probably. Who knows? I don't know. But that was so funny.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember the first time I saw that scene, I think I laughed so hard my sides
I
were hurt.
know, I
It
know.
it was so unexpected. You
Yeah.
didn't expect Perfect June Cleaver to come out speaking jive to two African American passengers on a flight. Then she said, after she said, "Cut me some slack, Jack," she's like, "He ain't got no sense, no way."
Yep.
It was funny. My mama didn't raise no dummy.
Yeah.
And they had those afro, you know.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just so funny, just
Yeah.
seeing that scene.
Yep.
Well, speaking of afros,
I had an afro when I was in high school.
Wow.
nice.
Yeah, I used to have an afro. I couldn't do it now, but at the time,
You
and
could
then-
sport one.
oh, not now. I wouldn't even think of that. And
Ah.
then this was controversy in the African American world at that time because after people had afros, there were these beauticians that were wanting to straighten the hair out.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they used to have this stuff called lye, this chemicals, you know, and it would straighten the curls out, and it was considered controversial a little bit at the time, and they called it fried, dyed, and laid to the side. You know, fried, because they used to have these little metal combs called straightening combs,
Yeah.
and I used to use those when I was in
Yeah.
high school. You literally put it in the flame, right, and you got this metal comb, right, and then you put like hair grease in your hair so you don't
Yeah.
burn your hair, and you just
Uh,
and it straightened all the curls out, and you'd be looking like Sammy Davis Jr.
My sister actually used to iron her hair with an iron.
Yeah, well, first they called it a pressing comb or straightening comb.
Yeah.
It was just a metal comb with teeth that you comb
Yeah.
your hair, and then they started getting those professional combs that you plug in that heat up your hair, and then they came up with those chemicals. And it would burn your scalp, you know, when you put it on. 15 minutes later, you had to wash it out, so you had to hurry up and comb the hair, and to get all the curl out, and you'd be like have straight hair.
yep.
And that didn't sit well with a lot of people in the African American community at that time because they felt you weren't black if you had straight hair. It was just the silliest
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but
Well, just like when
You
I
know.
was a kid and Caucasians would get their hair in an afro.
yeah,
Or
and that was
kids
controversial
now,
too. You know.
White kids now with dreadlocks. So-
Yeah, I don't
you know-
think. Yeah, the point I'm making, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah.
Even Robert Reed on the Brady Bunch had his little afro.
That's right. Yeah.
In one of those seasons. It was curly, but it was still in the afro shape. And we had this. Well, let me get my train of thought. getting back to Afro, yeah, I had my little Afro. And there was a joke, too, you know, when they used to straighten out hair in those years. They had this stuff called Afro Sheen.
Yeah,
You remember that? I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No.
That's
It
the
was like,
60s.
it came in this like, spray bottle.
And they used to have commercials.
And
about
yeah, and then, you know, there'd be an African-American fellow in the mirror, right? He's like spraying this stuff on his hair, right? And it was really oily.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
extremely
if you put
oily.
too much on it.
Yeah,
too
and
white,
then they would sit on the back of a couch, and
Yes.
then when their head would come off, you see the circle. You see the circle on somebody's couch. You had to be there, Emmett.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the comedians of that time made so much fun of that. They would put scenes like that in movies. Like you see these black people
Yeah.
sitting there, they'd be talking, leaning on the couch, and then all three of them get up, and there's like these three circles on a couch. It was just so funny,
Yeah.
but you know, it just goes back to what you were saying about being yourself. A person should be able to be themselves.
Yeah.
You want to have pink hair, God
Yeah.
bless. You want to have green hair, blue hair. You want to straighten your hair.
Well, thank God we live in Missoula because
Yeah. Because in Missoula, you can get away with
walk
that.
around with your candelabra and your
I know.
beautiful pompadour, and I can
Yeah.
have blue hair, and Emmett can
Yeah.
have. He can do whatever he wants. He can
But-
have Liberty Spikes if he wants.
And you know where I come from, it would be unthinkable to be walking the streets with a candelabra.
Right.
Really, where I come from. Because a lot of people are so, I want to say the word conservative, but not in a political sense.
Yeah.
Getting back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this, you have to do something a certain way. If you're 50 years old, you can't have long hair. You can't wear jeans if you're 45 and all this ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
No wonder they're like a bunch of stuffed shirts,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, when I was a punk rocker, I was not accepted in Missoula. When I first started going punk rock, I mean, people would stare at me and spit at me and call me freak and all sorts of names. It was unbelievable. Missoula, I think punk rockers are really a lot more accepted than it used to be because back in
Oh,
the
it is
90s,
now, yeah.
oh my word.
But I never had a problem with that. So.
Yeah, yeah.
But it just goes back to what we were talking about. People think you have to be a certain way at a certain age. That's just so ridiculous. I don't know who made that rule up. It's just crazy. So
Yeah, I mean, I even used to have long hair because when I first graduated, because I moved out on my own because I wanted to be a hippie. I was inspired by the stories of Woodstock and the hippies and the hippie culture when I learned in, history class, and I thought I want to be a hippie. I really don't know a thing about it, so I didn't look like I had slacks and a regular white T-shirt and just long hair and a long beard, and boy, I got it. People stared at me, called me hippie. To keep my job, I had to cut my hair because there were a lot of customer complaints about my long
I
hair.
had something like that happen to me once too. I used
Yeah.
to work in a cafe shop with this lady. I think she was from Italy years
and
ago.
trim my beard, yeah.
And the customers would complain because they didn't like the way I looked. And it didn't make any difference that I was
Yeah.
serving them well and all that. If my hair was out of place, they'd complain.
Oh.
If it was too long or not
Oh.
cut behind my ears.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know who made up that rule about
Yeah, yeah.
you got to have your hair cut behind your ears.
Yeah,
You look
yeah.
like a freak as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
You
Well,
know,
look at everybody with tattoos and piercings. And
yeah.
I don't see
Totally
anything wrong
acceptable.
with
Yeah,
that.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And I told you that story that time when I was 16 years old, and I had these yellow corduroys on, because my dad used to do a lot of drinking, not take care of his families and shit at the time, and I was still a kid. And I went into this restaurant. It was like this really nice restaurant. This African American boss was there. He's like the manager, and I went to put the application in, and he sized me up like this and looked at me and says, "Young man, you think you're going to get a job in here?" I said, "Well, I'd like to, sir." He says, "Well, you go home and you change your clothes and you dress properly. Then you come back." Yikes.
Yeah.
That happened to me when I was 16 years old. And he didn't seem to have no compassion or
Yeah.
mercy. How did he know that I didn't just come out of a homeless shelter? He just looking me up and down and sizing me up. An African American
Yeah,
fellow.
unbelievable. Yeah.
I had that happen to me when I was 16 years old. And, I didn't go back to that restaurant either.
Good.
Well, being on church, and how you look on church. You know what? When I got my hair cut and my beard trimmed because of my boss, sadly, and I'm not picking on any Catholics. I'm a Catholic. I'm not picking on the churches. But a couple of old ladies, or a couple of people said, "Emmett, you look a lot better with your hair cut." What business was it of theirs?
That's my point, and I just hate that.
Yeah.
our culture says you have to do a certain thing, you know, a certain.
Yeah.
And when I was growing up, I always got in trouble because I wasn't going to conform to that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like being baptized in pill dickle juice.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, dill pickle juice, I should say. You know, I didn't say it right, but yeah, you know, I like Pastor Harold Salem. You know, I watch him on TV every weekend when he gets to making these analogies about people with their personalities that are not fun. He says they're baptized in pickle juice.
Yeah.
Dill pickle juice. But anyway, growing up, that's just the way it was. I just didn't like conforming to what you're supposed to wear or look like or comb your hair.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I've always rebelled
Well,
against
you're
that. One
living
reason I
in the
became a
right
punk
place.
rocker.
Yeah,
Rebel against
I
all
know,
the
and that's
social
why,
rules and conformity in
Yeah,
society.
and I
hated
don't know
that, yeah.
who makes these rules up.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
On one of my old leather jackets, I had something about, I hate conform, because I had modeling pain, and I wrote a little messages, I hate conformist society. Destroy unwritten social rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And boy,
Yeah,
I got a
so-
lot of flack for that, you know.
Oh, I got a lot of flack too. But anyway, to sum this part of the conversation up, yeah, my hair is kind of straightened out and what have you now. But yeah, I get a lot of those Rick James, Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't even look like these people. And I
Yeah.
can't sing like these people. And I certainly can't dance like these people. I
Yeah.
just play the piano. That's it.
But you may not look like them, but
No, but I get a lot. I don't know how Elvis fits into that.
I think it's your hair.
No, that's fine. I like my hair, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, you know, to be called Elvis, I
Yeah.
don't know where that fits in, but.
But you know what?
Yeah.
You are. Speaking of rock stars,
Uh-huh.
you remind me of. You have the personality of Jimi Hendrix. You're so humble, like Jimmy.
Well, thank you. No one's ever said that to me. Thank you. Now, changing the subject, these little phones here. I want
Hello,
to talk
phone.
about phones. Isn't this an amazing piece of technology?
Yes.
This is called a smartphone. Probably can't see it on camera. And I got this thing just yesterday. And I know I don't like to conform to cultural rules, but there's certain things I think a person should have to keep up or to function, at least in our culture. And these little smartphones really come in handy. So I went and purchased one just yesterday. I have a neighbor named Cheryl Cooper, and she went with me to make sure I got the right one and pick it out and the right plan. It's only about $50 a month, this particular phone. But with this phone, I get to call anywhere in the United States as long as I want. In the old days, when you made a long distance call,
Yeah, I remember that.
it would add up, and you get your phone bill,
I remember that.
and it'd be like $30. I would talk like 20 minutes, you know?
Remember that.
Yeah. But with this thing, I can talk anywhere in the United States as long as I want. And then they gave me a list that they typed out of countries like Peru on the same plan. Just, hey, what you doing? It's 14 hours ahead, for example. And that costs extra money. In the old days, you make a long distance call, they'd be phone, AT&T be like add up the minute, not minutes, but you know, the time you talk.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can watch internet on this thing, like YouTube, just like a movie. I can play games on this thing, and I'm going to show you something. You won't see it on camera, but see this scenery here? It's outer space,
Yep.
and I chose that backdrop there
Wonderful.
and stuff like that.
Well,
And I
okay.
can send text messages.
Okay, here I'm gonna show my age, because that's where I have a problem.
With the
with
text
these
message?
phones, with these phones, because
Okay.
wherever you go,
Uh-huh.
the kids, adults too, have their
Yeah.
earphones in, they're texting, they're
Yeah.
not paying attention
I
to
know,
their
I
children,
understand
they're
you
not
shouldn't
talking
be-
to each other.
Yeah, I know you shouldn't be texting and driving. I understand that.
But even like you're going on a long bus ride or something.
Yeah.
You want to talk to somebody. They're too busy texting somebody else. They're not, nobody's talking to each other anymore.
I know.
I know. But you know, another thing that's amazing about the technology we have, somebody could be halfway around the world, you can get a message to them in seconds.
That's true. I know.
Because like I used to have pen pals overseas when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
It'd take like 2 or 3 weeks to get to China, one letter.
Yeah.
Whereas I can get on Skype or Facebook, hey, I'm bored, what you doing? Click! All of a sudden, a couple seconds later, oh, I was just cooking, Asaph, what are you doing? That kind of thing. Halfway around the world.
There's nothing wrong, though, with the old-fashioned pen pals. I used to have a punk rock pen pal called Wally from Germany, because I heard him about Maximum Rock and Roll, and he and I became very close. He had to go into the wilderness or do something. He couldn't stand Germany anymore. We lost contact. But we would just write letters to each other overseas about our lives, how we hated conformity. We loved punk rock. Oh, he was really cool about our battles of people being prejudiced against us, and we were instantly, and I still have his letters. And I still have all those old letters, and boy, he was even angry about society than I am, because he loved the Sex Pistols, and he said, I hate the society. I'd rather live in a garbage can than in another horrible job. I can't stand the society. I just can't stand the sick conformist society. It makes me, and I just loved, and I was eating this up, and we were writing
But
letters.
you know,
It was
that's
fantastic.
the point I'm making is I have friends that conform. That's cool.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate people who
Yeah.
want to be different.
Yeah.
And I love that about people.
Yeah.
So
With
that's
a
why I
text
appreciate
message,
the hair.
yeah, with a text message, even, you can't save a text message.
Yeah, you and I are going to take a selfie at the end of this show. I got to get in on that. Let's take a
Selfies,
selfie.
that's another thing you
Yeah, I
can
can
do
I can take a
with
selfie on this.
Yeah.
So we got to get that blue hair while it's fresh. Cause you did it just yesterday, didn't you? Wasn't it yesterday?
phones. What day is it today?
Well, today's Thursday.
It is Thursday the 26th.
Tuesday, oh no, Wednesday. Tuesday was Bob's birthday, so I did it on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Well, it looks very lovely because you give it a
Thank
day
you.
to set in, and it looks really starts really looking
Yeah.
really good. But yeah, I look at it like this. I never wanted to judge someone because they didn't so-called conform.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
my point, you know. And
There have been so many punk rock songs against conformity. That's one thing that really got me into the music because and the movement, because it was anti-conformist to the core, the way you dress. And there were a lot of punk rock songs written about how horrible conformist rules are, how horrible punk rockers are treated just because they have a mohawk or don't conform, and just, comparing society to a Nazi prison camp. There were wonderful songs, just wonderful, just, we're pushed up against the wall. They push us up against the wall. Read us our rights, cause we fight. They don't understand at all. It's something about laws on my back. Pressure's always on. Never able to do things on my own. The way
I understand
it's
that.
wonderful, and it was a great song. Disturbs them. Yeah, it was a wonderful song.
Well,
Punk rock.
I have a silly question.
What?
Is that what anarchy is?
Yes, to me, that is anarchy. Doing stuff the way you want. To me, it's not,
Then
let's
I'm
go
an
into
anarchist.
Yeah, definitely. So am I. I'm an anarchist.
well, I guess in a small way you might call me that too, even
Yep.
though I wear a tie. But when my mom was raising me, she used to always be so ticked off at me because I would never do what everybody else did.
Yes.
And she just used to think, oh God, why did you give me this kid? Why can't I put him back?
Yeah.
I'm sure my birth mom must have thought that about me growing up,
Yeah.
but that's the way it was. And I could just go on and on and on with
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of thing, but
Yeah.
nah, I'm not going to conform. No, I'm not going to break a law. I'm not
Oh,
talking
yeah, absolutely,
About that. I'm
that,
not
yeah.
talking about that. I'm just talking about these silly rules
Yeah.
that you have to have your hair behind your ears.
Yeah.
I think Walt Disney started that nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that was the 50s. That's how they dressed
I
in
don't
the
know.
50s. And well, even on the old Lawrence Welk set, most of their people that he hired had hair, above their ears because they ever
Yeah.
had, short hair. But it was expected for everyone. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I know.
The Beatles
Yes,
started
I
with the
was gonna say the
hair
thing.
a little bit lower than their,
Yes.
or farther down than their
Ears,
ears.
yes.
And everybody freaked out and
I
called
know.
that long hair.
Yeah.
I know they did call that.
Yeah, they were horrified by that. Just,
Yeah, they call it the mop top.
hmm
I thought it was cool
Yeah.
myself, but Anyway, so yeah, I went through different changes in my life. I had my afro when I was growing up, and those bell bottoms. Do you remember bell bottoms?
Oh,
Yes.
I love bell bottoms.
Yeah,
they were
well,
great.
I
They'll probably
wasn't.
come back too.
I wasn't necessarily into it, but I admit I did join the crowd when I was only like 9th grade, 10th grade. So I had my little bell bottoms when I was like in the 9th grade. And my mom bought me these really long bells. They had like the normal size and they had it kind of stuck way out. So I looked like something out of a Starsky and Hutch TV show.
Well, the
You
girls,
know?
the girls at my school, they would take their pants to make their bell bottoms bigger. They'd take their pants at the bottom and cut them and then add material so they'd be really big.
Mm-hmm.
Cher started that trend.
Oh, him.
And the stupid social rules in society saying you can't sing about washing machines in class. And
I know, yeah.
They're ridiculous, and you can't
I
act
know.
weird in class and sing about Star Trek and play science fiction games. Oh boy, it was just terrible, ridiculous.
You know, when I was in junior high, I used to have I think I told you guys
Yes.
that I had my phaser gun.
Yep.
I used to thought I ruled that school. I was like
Yep.
only in 8th grade. And I had a little phaser like Star Trek, like Captain Kirk. And I used to put it on my little belt and it'd hang there. I'd be walking around school with this
Cool.
phaser. And those teachers probably thought, where did this kid come from?
That's cool, yeah.
They must have thought that about me. I got decent grades, but I ruled my junior high school with my phaser. It didn't
Yep.
even work.
Yeah.
And I thought I was cool, you know.
Well, one fascinating thing I did. Do you remember school drills, the fire drills we had in school, where they,
Yeah. I remember that.
Well, I would often say the school is under alien attack, because like red alert, like Star Trek. So I would go outside with what I pretended I was from another planet, Avon, and this was my power watch, and it could do all sorts of functions. So I'd just go right in front of everybody, in front of the whole student body, going right at the space, and it was just this ever widening view of students just backing up, ever widening.
Yeah.
Hilarious. It just.
Yeah, I was into that. Well, more Star Trek. I'm gonna play something. Tell me if you know this song, Linda. Don't know it, huh?
Nope.
That is a theme song to an old television Japanese show called Johnny Sokko
Oh,
and
yes,
His
yeah.
Flying Robot. That was the name of it. I used to watch that show when I was a kid. And when you do it up in the upper register, I'll do it again, not the whole thing. What do you think of when you hear that?
Yeah, interesting. Well, I also had power gloves, my mittens, they did the same functions. You see, they had many different functions. They made me about invincible. Like it had a normal laser, and stun, and even I pretend that some of my lasers could destroy entire planets if there were battles, or they got this. Let's see, I could fly through the air. Let's see, I could make myself larger or smaller, or make any other object larger or smaller, or I could make it disappear. It could be blinding light or deafening sound. And if there were aliens, from another dimension, I could, put it on the ground and it would turn into a spaceship, or my gloves or my watch, starfighter, and then I would hop out and it would become a watch of gloves again. And if there were aliens from another dimension, another universe destroying, what I would just do is, throw it in the air, and it would fly out there like this, and what about all the aliens from another dimension? And I could call them to my hands again, and I told all the kids in school about it. All the kids in school, I always told them about this. And one time, one of these kids said, "He's better than a fight." It was hilarious. And I would always talk about other dimensions, and they thought I was either drunk or on drugs. I thought it was funny. I didn't mind. They thought I was nuts.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
was just
sure
having-
that the teachers probably thought that about me growing up
Oh,
too,
yeah.
because we went to this like conservative school, And I was the only kid in there with a phaser hanging
Yeah.
out when I was in junior high school, even though it didn't work. It looked real. Because they used to make these little models of Star Trek models, or phaser gun and stuff like that. And it was fun.
Yeah,
But no. Anyway, getting back to the telephone and conforming,
yeah.
this thing does everything. This little phone, it's one of the updated versions I have, and it was on sale. It had a discount, the plan and everything. And I can play games on here. I can listen to songs. I'm gonna put some Bob Dylan maybe, or Liberace or something when I get used to it. I don't know. It's just a cute little thing, and I look at this and I'm like, why didn't I get this sooner? Because you need these days to function. Think about it. Suppose you lived in a big city with a car.
Yeah.
Everybody's driving a car, right? You're driving a little 10-speed. You're gonna get left out.
Yeah. Well, actually, I function.
So-
I function quite well with my cell
Well,
phone.
no, I know that,
my
but I'm just
cordless
saying
phone
by
at home,
according, with everybody and what everybody's doing, this is just so commonplace.
Yeah.
And I was watching the world news just last night.
You have a cordless
You know,
phone at
because
home.
President
you know.
Obama was in Vietnam,
Yeah.
and they were showing all these Vietnamese people in the crowd. They all had these little phones up there trying to film the president and film what was going on. Because all you do is push a little button, and it just.
I saw a movie that was made with a cell phone.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was at the first annual Montana Film Festival.
Uh-huh.
It's called Tangerine. It's a true story.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
There used to be a famous song called Tangerine, but I don't remember how it went.
Yeah, I'm fine with my cordless phone at home. I'm just fine with that. Yeah.
Oh, I used to think I was in seventh heaven when I had my cordless phone. I'd be
Yeah.
walking around the house like I was Tom Cruise or somebody,
Yeah,
you know,
love
talking. And, yeah, but, you know, talking about the history of the phones, remember at the beginning,
Yes.
they had those old rotary dial phones?
Yes.
Like you'd be watching Perry Mason, and you see Raymond Burr up there dialing the number, Della, Archie, contact the judge.
Yeah. I remember.
And you know, you have to dial it 7 times, and then it goes backwards. It'd take all a year to, you know, dial it. And then they came up with those push-button phones, you know.
Yeah, I remember those.
And then, you know, they before this stuff came out, they had those payphones.
Yes, I remember
It's
those.
hard
You
to
like,
find a
you'd
payphone.
you'd be like
Yeah.
running out of, it's raining outside. You like got a flat tire. You gotta walk like a half a mile to a payphone. Then you gotta bum a quarter off somebody, and then you gotta see if they'll accept the charges. And it's just, it's so inconvenient by today's standards. So, and then what did they have after the push button? Then they had they didn't call it call waiting then. You know, the regular phones with the rotary phones
Yeah.
and stuff. If it was busy, you had an emergency, you couldn't get through.
Yeah.
It'd be like 2 old ladies be talking for like 2 hours, right?
I know. Yeah,
And
the
you,
shared
and,
line.
and you
yeah,
got
terrible.
like a chair hanging out of your head, like in that movie.
Do you remember party lines?
Party lines. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you were mentioning that, didn't you? There?
Yeah, my grandmother had a party line, and she didn't have a private line, so someone was hard to
Yeah.
call her, and we would often just talk and gab on the phone for
Uh-huh.
hours, you know, because we were very close. But yeah, she had a party line, not a private. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah,
No, I
well,
don't think the kids would know what that is.
Well, probably not. I don't think a lot of kids would know that. Today,
Well, a
you know.
party line, I think, it wasn't private. Sometimes you couldn't get through to someone if someone else, you shared the telephone wire so with other people, so other people's calls might kind of take priority, or they could kind of come into yours or something like that. Sometimes you couldn't get through because we used to have telephone wires. I wonder, don't we still have telephone wires? Yeah, we do, but it was shared on a telephone wire line, you know.
Look at me, guys. Gotcha.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? This didn't even exist
I
when
know.
I was in high school.
Yeah, it did.
It's
Yeah.
amazing how fast technology came. And then I can push this here. Now you're being filmed.
Mhm.
See?
Mm-hmm.
It's just so cute.
Yep.
I just love this thing.
Yeah.
I've been playing with this thing all night.
Yeah.
There we go. So it's fun. But yeah, I'll put you into the program there. We'll take a selfie after the show. I know I didn't do much physical playing today, but I did enjoy the topics we talked about.
Yeah, yeah. By the way,
Especially conforming and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
that, and then the telephones.
yeah, speaking of that and conforming, and back to science fiction, may I ask a question? It's just a fun question, not really personal. When you were a kid, did you ever pretend you were from another planet?
Oh, I did.
I
did.
did. Well, I did.
Yeah.
Maybe not to the degree to some kids, but yeah, I had my
That
share
was
of
very
that.
common. You know,
Totally lived in it.
absolutely. Same here. I would tell all the kids that when they asked where I was from, like in Lewiston, I am an alien from Avion.
No, really. You
I
know,
did, and I had my own culture, my own thing. And other friends of mine would
Uh-huh.
pretend they were from other planets. Like I think my friend Robert in Lewiston said his name was from Arian. He was from the planet Arian. An odd name, you know, but anyway, and his was more medieval. He had some technology, but it was more of a medieval planet. My planet was so advanced, it was unbelievable. And then finally, we were so advanced, we just turned into forms of energy. We were so advanced. And I pretended that I was here on Earth to prevent nuclear war.
I see. Superman tried that too.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. I was here to prevent a nuclear war, you know. But that's where I got my power watch, was from my home planet of Avion. But then, You see, at first when I was a little kid, I called it Avon, Avon calling. So anyway, and it was like Avon calling it, like an Avon representative. I pretended they were from my home planet. They were actually extraterrestrials. But then I changed it to Avion. But then I changed it back to Avon because, you see, do you remember the Super Friends, the challenge of the Super Friends?
Oh, yeah.
There was someone saying, now there is this Birdman from the planet Avion, and I realized I can't have, someone will think I took it from the Super Friends, so I changed it back to Avon. But it's just, and my friend and I, Robert and my friend Lewiston, would talk about our planets. And I had another friend, also, his name was Michael, also in Lewiston, and he pretended he was from another planet, but he couldn't tell me its name. It was classified. The name of his planet was classified, and he was in the, he was trying to move his entire solar system to another part of the galaxy. But it was a very common fantasy back then, and the teachers thought I was weird for always saying I was from another planet, Avion, and all the kids thought that too, and they thought, oh boy, he's from Avion. Oh, he must be out of his mind. He thinks he's from another planet.
No, that's the fun of being a kid. But getting back to the Super Friends, that was just the coolest cartoon. My goodness. I looked at that every week. Mm-hmm. The Super Friends, the challenge of the Super Friends, the original Super Friends.
Yep.
Yeah. Emmet and I talked about it. It was Superman, Batman, Robin, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, the Wonder Twins, Wendy and Marvin, and Wonder Dog.
Yeah,
against
wonderful.
the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor, all the other bad guys out there that are trying to take over the world, and the Justice League would always stop them. Just your classic good over bad. And it was just such a fun cartoon. Let's see if I can figure it out on that piano here. See.
So, if you ever get an Avon representative selling Avon products, they're from my home planet of Avon. So if you hear Avon ladies calling, they're from my home planet. Isn't that fascinating?
Something like that. Something like that.
Yep. Avon calling.
This is such a cool song.
Yeah. Yep, I was in my human form, even though my original form was energy. I guess I kind of got tired of all the kids asking me the stupidest question, like, well, why do you have hands here? If you don't have any hands or a body on even, why do you have one here? I'm in my human form, and they would always, they couldn't get it,
I get it, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. And they would ask me stupid stuff like a whole bunch of questions about sexuality up on Avion, and it's like,
I know, it's crazy. What was I gonna say? Did you Star Trek 6? You saw the movie Star Trek 6 with me, didn't you?
Yes.
They had this shapeshifter on there, this lady that can change herself into anything she wanted to change herself into.
Yeah.
We didn't watch that.
Well, okay, I had to show that to you.
Okay.
They had this shapeshifter on, and there was this scene where she turns herself into Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
And then she starts beating up the real Captain Kirk. So you see these two Captain Kirks fighting. It was just so hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway.
It's just a funny.
So I guess I kind of got tired of telling all the kids I was from another planet because they just didn't get it. So once I moved to Missoula and started going to Sentinel, I didn't tell anyone. But I still continued firing lasers and power watches and talking to things. And, as far as nonconformity, they still have like a sun glow machine, dispense sun glow juice. So I always talk to the sun glow machine. And all the teachers thought it was weird that I would always talk to the sun glow machine. I say, hi, sun glow machine, how are you? What's that? Oh, I know. That's very fascinating. I push this button. What's that? Oh, I know. Well, bye, sun glow machine. I just did as many weird things as I could, and I'm still proud of it. I thought it was great,
Playing Chopin, what we're talking about.
Yeah, it was so stupid. I was always in special ed classes for that. They always put me in special ed classes.
My family thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe
everybody thought I was crazy, and I wasn't even in special ed class, and they thought I was crazy.
Oh, yeah, they thought I was crazy. They thought either I was drunk or on drugs or whatever, mentally ill. Too. Yeah, they thought I was schizophrenic. I thought I was.
I've got that too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I got that too.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful song.
There is mental illness.
Yeah, there is.
You know what it is?
Mm-hmm.
It's people that don't want to save the earth.
Yeah.
That's mentally ill.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm gonna probably play that part again. I didn't like the way he did it. This is called the Prelude in E minor by Chopin. It makes you think of a movie or something, you know.
Well, I'm glad that I got to fire my Power Watch lasers on your show. That's an honor to do the Power Watch thing again. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that second part if I can remember. Do it again. We're almost out of time, guys.
Yep.
I'm gonna get it this time. That's better. It's a beautiful song. The Prelude in E minor.
Even a friend of mine in summer camp adventure, his name was Mike, this was in Tucson, I would always tell him I was from my home planet Avon, and he had another planet that he was from too, called Draco.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he changed his name to something I can't remember. I still have that letter up in my closet because I saved his letters when I moved to Lewiston, so he said, I've changed my name of my planet, you know, so, but that was a very common fantasy, you know.
Well, we're out of time, guys. See how fast this whole hour went?
Yep.
Any last minute things you want to say, Linda? Linda, I'm sorry. I said that to her too. Teresa?
Again, happy birthday, Bob and Pete. Peace, love, and happiness, and be yourselves, everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
Love,
I agree.
love each other and be yourselves.
I agree. Emmett, any last minute words you want to
Yes, another surreal joke. There were these two dishwashers, and they were splashing around in a coffee cup. Oh, it was very fascinating. Then this one dryer came along and said, oh, I can't see around that. So we went to the other side of the room and started screaming about trigonometry.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's a lot better. I tried taking trigonometry for like 1 week. It was too hard. I quit.
Yeah.
Wasn't for me. Anyway, it's time to sign off here. And I had fun. I enjoyed both shows, and I just love these topics.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm anxious to put the credits on.
Oh,
what we
definitely.
talked about
Fascinating.
on this. I'm gonna do it as soon as
Yeah,
we go off camera.
absolutely.
Here. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in for Asaph Cafe, and we're on episode 106, I believe it is.
Fascinating.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we have Teresa Toigo, very lovely young woman, and she has her blue hair, and that's cool. You got to come over later. Actually, our AJ rocker Emmet, and we'll take some selfies and some pictures. It'll be fun. I can even post them on Facebook too.
Yep, cool.
This is fun. So, ladies and gentlemen, I guess we can sing happy birthday out to sign out. But before we do, until our next show, Maranatha, we'll sing happy birthday to Bob Dylan one last time.
To you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, dear Bob and Pete. Happy birthday to you.
By the way, if you pretended you were from another planet, do you remember the name of your planet that you were from?
No, I'd have to think about it. I've been in junior high school about 50 years. So.
Okay, yeah, I remembered it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks for being part of this, and it was fun, and I'll sign off now, and then we can have fun with this little
Yep. So, it's fascinating.
smartphone.
Yeah. Live long and prosper.